Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I've worked in a casino business for 16 years. Started off working in the kitchens and worked my way up to being a casino host in about 10 years. So I know all the ins and outs of the business in order to make our most elite players as comfortable and fun as possible. No, I've never got to serve any celebrities. There is another host above me who's there just for that privilege. I worked there for a couple more years even after finishing college and getting the degrees I wanted. All help paid for by the casino for my loyal service. The scene. I'm out alone celebrating a promotion lined up for me at my new job that I've been working for the last 2 years. I was on good terms with everyone when I left and said hello and caught up with a few of them, even getting drinks from the service girls as a congratulations. Since I know how hard they all work, I tip everyone I meet very generously. Unfortunately, this means that my old patrons, players, and guests, you name it, also remember me. One in particular, the Karen, treats everyone badly. I've known and hosted her for years, so I know everything she likes and hates. She's been banned on multiple occasions for harassing other players. Once, she threw one of those huge margaritas that you are supposed to share with 4 people off of a balcony and gave another player who it hit a concussion. Of course, this lady spent so much money at the casino. So the worst that happened to her was that she got banned for a year and settled out of court with the other lady she hit with a margarita. It sucks that she's one of the wealthier patrons of the casino, spending millions every year at our establishment. It always says she'll never come back because she never wins and the service is bad. Mainly in regards to me, despite doing everything she has ever asked of me, exactly as she asked. She sees me having a drink at one of the bars and decides to try and ruin my good time. Hey, why haven't I seen you in a while? Oh hey, feeling like I'm glad to see her. I'm really not. Oh, I'm just out having a few drinks, figured I'd check out my old stomping grounds. Have you been? She rolls her eyes at me like I'm boring her to death, nothing I haven't seen before, and she interrupts me. Her face and attitude change are like some high-class witch talking down to a peasant. Something I see a lot of rich people do. Great, since you aren't doing anything, go cash out my chips for me. Those witches behind the counter won't pay me out since I'm over the cash out limit, and I left my license upstairs back in the room they gave me. I never understand why people do not carry ID on them in a casino. This is a problem that happens way too often. So people, carry your ID at all times. Also, there is a certain threshold of money that the cashiers are not allowed to cash out without proper ID. It's really not a big deal, it's mainly for in-house auditing, and in no way has to do with taxes. Those are mainly jackpots and promotional winners. We try to make things easier, but some people live to make other lives difficult. Like Karen. I tell her, I would, but I really don't want to. Just shut up and do what I tell you. Or are you too stupid to follow simple instructions? Get it done, or I will find out where you do work, and not only will I get you fired, but you'll be living in a gutter for the rest of your life. It takes everything I have not to snap. So I bite my tongue as I start to come up with how I'm going to get back at this woman. Okay, Karen, give me everything you have, and I'll take care of it. I say, as calmly as I can. I so have you. Oh, and don't tip yourself. I know you make more than minimum wage here, so it's not like you need it or anything. I'm not comfortable tipping myself with clients I'm on the best terms with, but I'm ready to snap with this woman. She dumps thousands, roughly $10,000 worth of chips on a bar counter, not even caring that a few hundreds end up rolling on the ground and into the barkeeper's area, who kindly helps me gather them up. She leaves and I'm shaking in fury until I calm myself enough to go through with my plan. And I start gathering all the chips into a couple racks that were conveniently nearby. The barkeep, Chris, fake name of course, asks if I'm okay, haven't seen the whole exchange. I hand him 3 of the $100 chips with a malicious smile on my face. It's going to be a good night for the staff. I said, do it man. Chris cheered me on. and I went off handing chips off to any casino employee I ran across. I had to go to the cashier to pick up a couple $1,000 chips and gave them a $100 each. In less than an hour, I had given away nearly $10,000 and I just left. I got a call from one of my old work buddies about the storm Karen threw when she found out I had given all her money away. She punched the executive host in the face and is now perma-banned from the casino, and also blacklisted from several others with an assault charge on top. When she gave me her chips, it looked exactly like that on the cameras. She had given me chips and she forgot to tell me where and when to meet her in order to get them back. And since I was another casino patron, that amounted to abandoned cash. Basically, if you're careless enough to leave behind, or in Karen's case, give away money, then that money doesn't belong to anyone, and it's finders keepers at this point. Even if I stayed and got caught or questioned, then the worst they could ever do to me was ask for the money back, and if I refused, then it would be a 3-day ban and an immediate escort out of the casino. I know $10,000 is a drop in the pocket to Karen, but the blow to her ego is worth so much more. You just won't believe the wild scene I witnessed at the grocery store the other day. I was just minding my own business trying to grab some snacks when I saw this Karen with her crazy antics. Let me tell you the whole story. I was casually going about my business picking up groceries when out of nowhere Karen appears right beside me, giving me the stink eye like I did something wrong. I could practically feel the tension oozing out of her. I tried my best to ignore her, thinking she was just having a bad day or something, but no, that wasn't enough for her. Karen decided to speak up and says, "You're in my way. Move." I was taken aback because, to be honest, I wasn't blocking anything. There was plenty of space for her to go around, but you know how these entitled people are. They just want to cause trouble for no reason. So I politely reply, "Oh, sorry. I didn't realize I was in your way. You can go ahead." But of course that's not what she wanted. She starts rambling about how I'm intentionally blocking her path and that I must have been doing it on purpose because I'm rude. Rude? Me? I couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. I tried to defuse the situation by saying, "Look, I didn't mean to upset you. Let's just both go back to our shopping, and there won't be any issues." You'd think that would be enough, right? But oh no, Karen was not about to back down. She takes it as a personal challenge and starts raising her voice, drawing attention to our little encounter. Now, I am not one to get into unnecessary conflicts, so I decide to walk away and continue my shopping, but Karen was not about to let me off the hook that easily. She follows me around, still hurling insults and accusing me of being disrespectful. I couldn't help but roll my eyes at this point. It's like dealing with a toddler throwing a tantrum over a candy bar. I try my best to keep my cool and not engage with her nonsense, but here is a kicker. She sees me looking at some baby products and that's when she really loses it. She starts ranting about how I shouldn't be allowed near babies because I'm probably some kind of child abductor. Can you believe that? Now, I am a calm and patient person, but this was crossing the line. I look at her and say, "Listen, lady, I don't know what your problem is, but you're way out of line. I have as much right to be here as anyone else. And for your information, I have a niece who I adore. So don't you dare make baseless accusations like these." But of course, Karen wouldn't back down. She starts attracting even more attention and people around us are just staring like we're some kind of reality TV show. All over nothing. Thankfully, a store employee notices a commotion and steps in to mediate. I explain the situation and the employee handles it quite professionally, asking Karen to calm down and reminding her that we're all just trying to shop peacefully. It was like she finally realized that her antics were getting her nowhere and she begrudgingly walks away, muttering under her breath, "Phew, I thought it was over." Little did I know that her craziness was just getting started. Not long after, she'd have the entire police force pointing their guns at her in a shocking scene. Let's get to that part, shall we? After my stupid encounter with Karen, I decided to discreetly keep an eye on Karen from a distance, hoping she'll just move on and leave the store. And that's when I spot this young mom with her adorable baby boy fast asleep in his stroller. The little one looked like an angel, all snug in his blanket, but then, out of nowhere, enters Karen, the classic entitled lady from earlier. Karen walks up to the young mother and exclaims, "Oh, what a precious little baby! Can I play with him?" The young mother, in a polite tone, tells her, "I'm sorry, but he's sleeping, and I don't want him to wake up just yet." But Karen simply won't take no for an answer. She keeps insisting, "Oh, come on, you won't mind a little playtime?" The mother stands her ground saying, "No thank you, he needs his rest, and I don't want to disturb him." Well, you know how entitled people are. They don't understand the word no. Karen starts getting all huffy and puffy, and before we know it, she's shouting at the top of her lungs. The poor baby wakes up crying his little eyes out, and his mama rushes to pick him up, trying to soothe him. But guess what? Karen, out of nowhere, reaches into the stroller, picks up the baby before his mother does, and starts pacing away towards the exit gate. It was like a scene from a dramatic movie. The mother is losing it at this point, screaming and running behind Karen, begging people to stop her. We all rush to help, but Karen is relentless, making her way to the parking lot with a baby in her arms. And just as we think things can't get any crazier, a good Samaritan steps in and blocks Karen's path, preventing her from going any further. Meanwhile, the police clearly have been called, and in no time, multiple officers are on the scene, guns drawn. It's like a showdown, and all of us bystanders are just watching in shock. But here is a twist. Turns out, that little baby boy is none other than the grandson of the police chief himself. Talk about a plot twist. Seeing the entire police force pointing their guns at her, Karen finally snaps back to reality. She must have realized the mess she caused and got herself into. The chief's grandson of all people? She hands the baby over to one of the female officers, who hands him back to his mother, while Karen still muttering nonsense about how the baby can't be possibly the mother's because he doesn't look like her, and that she was doing the baby a favor getting him away from that strange woman pushing him around. Oh boy, did that lady dig herself into a deep, crazy hole. The police chief arrives on the scene and he looks furious to say the least. I couldn't help feel a bit of satisfaction watching Karen squirm in her entitled outrage. The chief approaches his crying daughter, who's still shaken, and hugging her baby tightly, and he assures her that everything is going to be okay. The officers take Karen into custody, and that's when we all finally breathe a sigh of relief. I mean, seriously, what was Karen thinking, trying to steal a baby and then claiming the mom wasn't his real mom? That's some next-level entitled behavior. The police chief personally thanks the Good Samaritan who stopped Karen, and all of us witnesses get interviewed by the officers, telling them what happened. It was like we were part of a real-life crime investigation or something. After what felt like an eternity, the chief comes over to thank all of us personally for helping and being there for his daughter and her baby. Thankfully, the young mother and her baby are doing fine now, and they have become sort of local celebrities. Everyone in the neighborhood is rallying around them, offering support and love. In the days following the incident and as illegal proceedings began, Karen was charged with a series of offenses, including kidnapping, assault, and endangering the welfare of a child. The charges carried severe penalties, and it became apparent that Karen's actions would have lifelong repercussions. Karen was sentenced to 10 years in prison, along with probation upon her release. The court also imposed a restraining order preventing her from ever being near the mother and her baby again. So there you have it, guys. Everything that happened on the craziest day and the craziest encounter I have ever been a part of. I'm glad my encounter with Zach Karen prior to the kidnapping incident didn't take a worse turn. Who knows what she might have done to me if I were to escalate, to be honest. I'm glad that we will never know. So this story is a few years old now, from my first year of varsity. I had started varsity and was doing a pretty hectic course in the medical field. As a child to a single parent who had not worked since I was 15, I obviously needed a job to cover my living expenses and what little my scholarship didn't. So I started working part-time at a bookstore in my local mall, as it suited my personality and I love books in general. The bookstore is one of those large-scale corporate chain types. The pay was as close to minimum wage as humanly possible though. So 6 months in, I am doing well and I get promoted to night manager. Duties involved managing the night staff, most of which are students like myself, and then 2 late 20 girls, most of which have kids. A week into me being night manager, a directive comes from head office saying that we are not making enough book sales and that we are obviously not trying. Not to put it in perspective, this is around the time where Kindles and all the other types of e-readers were becoming popular. So naturally, physical book sales had dropped radically. To remedy this fact, they were sending down a new store manager to take over, and our current store manager would take a minor managerial role. 3 days later, in walks the new manager, a short woman who hates men. Needless to say, I walk through to the back for our daily shift change meeting where they introduce her. She greets us all and then asks all the manager to stay behind. So everyone filters out, leaving the 4 managers, myself as a night manager, the day manager, the stock manager, and our previous store manager. So next thing, the new boss, Karen, turns to me and asks me what the heck I'm still doing here. I calmly explain that I am the night manager. She hears this and looks at everyone else to confirm this. Once they confirm the truth of my words, she looks at me directly and gives us a whole throwdown of how things around here are going to change nada. 6 months down the line, nothing much has happened. Karen has been nothing but passive-aggressive to me and some others, and everyone has noticed to the point where everyone in our store has a burning dislike for her. The managers get called in for a meeting where we get told the store is going to be closing in a week for 2 months for a revamp. I immediately ask why the short notice and the night staff all earn on a shift-to-shift basis. A week's notice isn't enough time to make alternative arrangements. Karen flips out at me saying that they don't matter and are easily replaceable. I point out that 2 of them rely on this job to feed their families and they can't live without this job. All the other managers stand with me on this point. Karen then falls back and says we will pay them a base wage for 1 month and then hire them as painters. Now my neighbor is a painter by trade and I know they earn at least twice what we are paid per hour. So I point this out as well as ask if she is also going to pay for them to be trained. She then flips out at me further for being a smart aleck. Okay, maybe I deserve that. Eventually she says that we will meet tomorrow to discuss her final decision. The time that she chooses though is an hour and a half before my shift starts and right in the time frame where I have one of my final exams. I point this out and an evil grin crosses Karen's face as she says to me, if you don't make it in tomorrow, don't bother coming in ever again. A week later I found out 3 of my co-workers on a night shift were let go with no pay and told to reapply once the store opens. All those who had openly been friendly with me were told not to come back. This included both young mothers. This sends me into a fit of absolute rage. It's one thing to screw with me, but to mess with my co-workers as well, that's too far. I immediately phoned head office to complain and was completely ignored. Kept on a line, switched from department to department, and eventually I had enough and sent in a detailed report to my country's Business Control Council, reporting the corporation rather than a store for bad business practice and unfair dismissal of multiple staff members. I then emailed the corporation's human resources explaining what I had done and why. I informed them that I would change my complaint to the name of the store manager instead of the corporation in general if they found a way to rectify what they had done. It took 3 days before I received a response. They rented a smaller store for everyone to work at while the renovations were done at great expense due to the small timing window, and they rehired everyone while suspending Karen without pay until further notice. I immediately kept my promise and edited my complaint. Investigation was done and Karen lost her job permanently with no chance of a reference. Had worked for said company for 20 years. With a 20-year gap in her CV, it has been very hard for her to find a decent job. I saw her the other day working as a packer in my local supermarket, and this is what brought the story to mind. In a pre-corona age, I worked in airport check-in for a ground operations company in Sweden. I encountered a lot of entitled people, so I thought I'd share one of my experiences with you. Disclaimer: human memory is one of the worst forms of recording memories since we forgot and reconstruct memories over time, but I will do my best to give an honest representation. So anyone who isn't familiar with what a ground operations company is, it's a company that handles any non-flying related work for many different airlines. This includes baggage handling, check-in, boarding, de-icing, arrival service, and so on. This means I am not employed by any airline, but I work for a company that is hired by multiple airlines. Summertime is busy time in the airline industry, and this day was no exception, especially for our biggest customer, a certain low-budget airline that I won't reveal the name of. I was standing behind the check-in desk when a father and son came up to my desk. They gave me their passport and put their two hold bags on the baggage belt. The scale immediately shows that their bags exceed their allowed weight by 6 kilograms. When I look at their reservation, I see that their ticket doesn't even allow them to have any hold baggage, only carry-ons. I think to myself, uh-oh, this is going to be awfully expensive for them. Purchasing an allowance for just one hold bag at check-in costs 65 euros. An overweight baggage costs an additional 15 euros per kilogram. In total, they would have to pay 220 euros or 265 USD. I tell the entitled dad that he will have to pay for the baggage or that he can repack the bags to fit the allowed weight, thus only paying for the bags themselves. He refuses to pay for anything and gets all up in my face about it. This happens a lot, so I wasn't shocked by his reaction. Usually, these kinds of people try to bully or shame you into waiving the fee, effectively giving them free baggage. Unfortunately for him, I am very stubborn. Why should I have to pay? I have done nothing wrong. You have no baggage in your reservation and the bags are over their weight limit. You can repack over there, points at repacking area, or pay for all of it right away. You are telling me I can't bring home my bags? You can bring them with you if you pay for them like everyone else. I have no money to pay for these. This is almost always nonsense. Oh, shame. Then a teenager says, "Dad, just pay for the bags." The kid's reaction tells me his dad can pay, but just doesn't want to. I want to go home with my bags. I have paid for my tickets and now you say I can't go? The ticket you paid for doesn't include hold baggage. This is a problem here. I further checked the reservation. Sometimes passengers mistakenly only pay for hold baggage in one way. This wasn't the case though. The first excess fee was waived by staff at his original airport. At this point, I was done with his nonsense. I don't know what you want me to do. Oh, come on, man. Okay, you have three options. 1. You pay for your bags. 2. You go home with your bags. 3. You don't go home at all. He realizes that I won't budge and ends up paying for his bags. I wish him a happy flight, but he just mumbles something under his breath. Ah, entitled people. Anyways, that's the end of it. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.